I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm joined by Adam Smith here in Manchester. Huge fight night, Joyce v Parker, live on BT Sport box office. Not something I've said to you before, but it shows that broadcasters, promoters, especially in the UK market right now, where there's a lot of them, are working together. So I think we need that more in boxing, and we're getting that this Saturday.
I really wanted that many years ago, Umar, when we went with Matchroom and Eddie, and maybe even before that, when we had a number of promoters. We worked with the Franks, so we worked with Ricky and Mick, and it had been great for everybody to get together. And we see Andy Lee up there today, and those fights like Andy Lee and Darren Barker and Matt Macklin, that sort of those middleweights at the time, they never really fought each other, did they? And they all had to go different routes. And we saw those light middles like Jamie Moore and Jawed Khalik and Wayne Alexander all go different routes. I think when promoters do get together, as long as it benefits both of them and the broadcasters as well, I think it's really good to see it happening. And I think it's fantastic that there's more relationship building now. We see it with our rescheduled show for October 15th with Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, which we're very excited to go again with. It's a boxer show. We've got Top Rank and Michaela Mayer. We've got, who are our colleagues as well, obviously. We've got our former colleagues in Matchroom, in Alicia Baumgardner. And we've also got Dimitri Salita, Mark Taffet. It's a sort of who's, Mick Hennessy's involved, so who's who. This is very similar. George said at the beginning that he's got, it's Queensberry, it's Boxer, Lou DiBella's involved, I think Jake Paul's involved. I think there's a huge amount, and I think as long as it sort of suits every party, most importantly it suits the fighters, and the fighters get the big fights, and the fans get the fights they want to see. I wish this was on Sky, of course, that's my business, but I'm glad it's happening. And I think for Joe Parker, who Boxer have just signed, and we want to put him on the sort of A side and bring him back, because we think there's plenty left with Joe Parker with this new reunion with Andy Lee, training with the Team Fury. He's an adopted Brit, he's a great bloke, and he's for so long been a B side. I thought he'd come back as an A side, and then Ben said, look, he wants the Joe Joyce fight. So they've got it made. Well done to Frank and to George and to Ben for doing that, and good luck to Joe Parker and good luck to Joe Joyce, who's another great guy, two fabulous athletes and individuals, and a really good fight. I can't wait for it.
Well, you might get some business off this live on Sky Sports box office should Joseph Parker win and Joe Joyce activate that rematch clause. How big do you think that fight would be? I know we haven't had the first fight, so it's a bit difficult to say how that pans out, etc. But if Parker wins and Joyce activates that rematch clause, how big is that rematch?
Depends on how good Saturday night is, and I expect it to be a really good fight. Wonderful clash of styles. You've got Joe. I don't like the fact that Joe Joyce is called a zero boxer. I mean, this was a very good amateur whose jab beat Daniel Dubois. So let's not say, he can box, but obviously we know what he's great at, which is that relentless, the juggernaut coming forward, terrific chin, good power, and you'd have thought it probably would take good power to fend Joyce off. But I think Andy Lee's been working with Joe Parker on his skill set, what he does naturally. He's an athlete, he's quick, he's got a great chin, he's adaptable, he's very good on his feet, and I think they'll be looking to utilise Joe Parker's legs for 12 hard rounds. And if they can do that, if they can get in and out, judge the distance and try and outbox Joyce from start to finish, that's the plan. I'm sure it will be. And Joyce will be trying to break him into corners and back him up. I think it's going to make for a terrific fight. I think it could be a nip and tuck affair. I would love to see a rematch.
Now the WBO interim title's on the line. This is going to have huge significance for the heavyweight division moving forward. A huge fight that we want to see, of course, is Fury Joshua. We know Frank Warren has sent a contract over to Team Joshua. At the moment, nothing's come back from them. So you're not involved in this. You're just looking at this as a fight fan. But you're in the industry, you're in the business. What have you been hearing? Have you heard any whispers about what's going on with Fury Joshua?
I am watching it as a fight fan, and I really want to see the fight happen, because I worry if it doesn't happen now, will it ever? And I think we nearly had it a couple of years ago, and if it's not made now, the casual fan's going to lose interest and not believe it really will. I think it looked very positive a couple of weeks ago. I talked to Benga and Freddie, and yeah, of course, I'm a fight fan, but I'm trying to find out. Spoke to George just earlier, and I think, look, it's I think it's a great offer from Tyson Fury, the 60-40. I think Anthony wants the fight. He's a competitor. I think he'll jump straight into this. I think the two fighters want it, which is always the best way to start. However, there is the red tape of the promotional divide, the broadcaster divide. How's it going to work with BT DAZN? How's it going to work in America with DAZN and ESPN? There's a lot to get over the line. I was more buoyed, I think, a couple of weeks ago. It looked like there was some real momentum. Obviously, we had the unprecedented events and the tragic passing of the Queen and everything that brought, and the reflective period and the mourning of a nation. And of course, everything just slowed down. Now, that's come at a time where it probably needed to speed up because of the date of December the 3rd. So that didn't happen. We're, 8-9 weeks away now. I think if it hasn't happened by either the close of play tomorrow or at the latest mid next week, and it's not ironed out, I don't think we'll see it, and that's a real shame. So I'm hoping that Bob and Frank and Eddie and George and everybody that's involved, Freddie and 258, get this over the line, because it looks like both fighters want it. The fans want it. We all do. So, and even if it's not on Sky, which it won't be, if it's happening on December 3rd, I'm massively in favour for it. It's we've seen too many fights that don't happen or happen way, way, way too late. This one's still got a lot of legs here now. It's a very interesting fight. Joshua's coming off a very good performance out in Saudi. He wasn't good enough. He didn't win it, but it's a very, very good display. And he could be buoyed by that going into a Fury challenge, who's a different fighter. Tyson Fury, he's played with us with a retirement. He's had that fight against Dylan White, which he dominated. We all expect him to fight Alexander Usyk for undisputed, and he'll start a big favourite against Joshua. But you write AJ off at your peril. I think it's a great fight to happen now. It'll be a wonderful pre-Christmas present, but I'm less confident than I was a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, honest, fair assessment there. Just lastly, before we close off, October 15th, Shields Marshall is back on. See the smile on your face, delighted about that. Of course, I think speaking to Ben and yourself off camera, it was the right move from the board to call that fight off on September 10th with the circumstances around it. But yeah, we move on to October 15th.
We do. It was the right call from the board. We all had to pause and pay respects, and there was much bigger things happening with the nation, obviously. So I think the board got it absolutely right. I think that it would have been hard for the fighters, always is with boxers who have to make weight and they're training for one moment in time. Very, very hard to postpone or cancel anything. I think it would have been really hard to sort of have it a couple of weeks later. They wouldn't know whether to stay, whether to go back home, how to re-gear their training camp. But what we did was we put them all in the same boat. We told them all. They were disappointed, but they took it absolutely brilliantly with the professionalism you want and hope for. They had a few days off, relaxed a little bit, and now they're back in training camp, and it's all systems go, green for go for October 15th. I think it's going to be more anticipated. I think it's going to be banged out this time, absolutely sold out at the O2. I think there's more interest in it because you wait for that next time, and everyone can't wait for Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, the top of the bill, Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgartner, two wonderful fights, everything in it. Bitterness, rivalry, now a delay, the whole lot, and you've got the all-female card for the first time ever on British soil, and it's on Sky Sports, available to all. So we cannot wait. It's going to be a wonderful week, October the 15th. But before that, we'll be tuning in on our televisions to watch Joe Parker, see how he goes, and against Joe Joyce. We've got, obviously, the Eubank Ben fight on week before at the O2 on October the 8th. And, we just watched Triple G and Canelo. Lots going on in the boxing marketplace, but we've got some big announcements to come for the rest of the shows of the year on Sky with Boxer, and we're in a really good place. We've had a year so far to work together. We're bedding in well. We've made some great signings. We've had some fantastic shows. We've had one or two situations that haven't been as good. You learn from those. You learn from your mistakes. You move better, and we've got a great partnership. And I'm really glad that Ben is adapting and can go and work with George Warren on a show like this, and we're supporting him to do that. I think it shows how far the sport's come and how comfortable we are at Sky with where we are.
Sorry, forgot to mention, you mentioned Canelo Golovkin there. Just get your reaction to reports from Dan Rafael. It did around 500,000 buys in the US. Eddie actually went back to Dan Rafael and didn't quote a number, but suggested it did way more. But yeah, reports from Dan Raphael saying did $500,000 on DAZN in the US. Your thoughts?
And didn't DAZN announce 1.06 million globally?
For the US globally, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's not my business. I'm in the Sky business. As far as DAZN go, they'll have their plans. They'll have their numbers to hit and how they feel it went. I watched it. I was one of the ones who got up through the night and watched it. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I was disappointed with the fight. I thought that Canelo wasn't quite as good as I thought he would be. And I thought Golovkin, to me, looked the weight below, inactive, aging, everything that people are saying. I thought Canelo won it fairly comfortably until the last 3 or 4 rounds where Triple G sort of came to life and made it, as a fight, more watchable and exciting. I didn't think it was the greatest fight, and I think it was disappointing from that point of view. However, Canelo gets the win, and the trilogy's finished, and we'll see where he goes next. There's lots of opportunities for Canelo. I love watching him fight, and that's why I think I was a little bit disappointed. I don't think he was quite at his best, and maybe he said about the hand, and maybe it was just the fact that they have so much respect for each other, although there was the hatred before and then the lovely friendship at the end. Maybe that respect meant it just lacked something, but and maybe it was the time since the second fight, but didn't think it was a great fight, but enjoyed getting up and watching it. It was a big moment, and it's everybody's, as I said, playing their part, whether it's DAZN, there was BT, Channel 5. It was a lively weekend, and when Sky are dealing with other sports, and we've prioritised football or Formula One or cricket or other sports, and we take our time and choose our boxing fight nights carefully. It's good that everybody else is supporting us, and that's great for fighters, for fans, for customers, for everybody, that they've got all this choice at the moment. Remember, Sky have been there for over 30 years, providing year in, year out entertainment, and it's great that everybody else is joining the party and wants to be involved in the best sport in the world.
I agree with that. Adam Smith, thank you for your time on IFL TV. We'll see you at the Manchester Arena on Saturday for Joyce Parker.
Cheers, see you then.
Yeah, my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. You coming out?
One hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.